Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam daivim sarasatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat nasta prayes vabhatisu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. We're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26. Principles of Material Nature, text number 40. Dotanam pachanam panam adanam hina mardanam tejaso vitayas kriti Soshanam shutrid evacha Jotam pachanam panam Adanam hinamardanam Tejaso vritayastvekha Sosanam shutrid evacha Dyotanam pachanam panam Adanam hima mardanam Teta Sosanam sutrit evacha Adanam himamardanam Soshanam shutdevacha Dyotanam pachanam panam Adanam himamardanam Tejaso vrittayasvetaha Soshanam shutdevacha Dotanam pachanam panam Adanam himamardanam Tejaso vrittayasvetaha Mataji's? Okay, no one? Dotanam, illumination. Pachanam, cooking, digesting. Panam, drinking. Adanam, eating. Himamardanam, destroying cold. Tejasa, of fire. Vritaya, functions. Two, indeed. Eta, these. Soshanam, evaporating. Shut, hunger. Trit, thirst. Eva, also. Cha, and. Alright, this is Canto 3, Chapter 26, text number 40. Translation. Fire is appreciated by its light and by its ability to cook, to digest, to destroy cold, to evaporate, and to give rise to hunger, thirst, eating and drinking. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The first symptoms of fire are distribution of light and heat, and the existence of fire is also perceived in the stomach. Without fire, we cannot digest what we eat. Without digestion, there is no hunger and thirst, to eat and drink. When there is insufficient hunger and thirst, it is understood that there is a shortage of fire within the stomach, and the Ayurvedic treatment is performed in connection with the fire element, Agni Madhyam. Since fire is increased by the secretion of bile, the treatment is to increase bile secretion. The Ayurvedic treatment thus corroborates the statements in Srimad Bhagavatam. The characteristic of fire in subduing the influence of cold is known to everyone. Severe cold can always be countered by fire. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayavacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama So Lord Kapila is continuing his analysis of the different elements of the material nature, and we're hearing about, today we're here at the verses describing about fire. Fire, one of the 5 elements, right? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. So yesterday we were explaining how each of the different elements have different characteristics, and fire has all the qualities of the earlier element. It means first there's sound, and then air, and then water, then the first ether, air, then fire, right? Fire is the first, after ether and air. With ether there was sound, and then with air there was sound and touch. And now with fire you have sound and touch and form, right? So form is the specific characteristic there of fire. So Lord Kapila said fire is appreciated by its light, heat and light. Where there is fire, there will be heat and light. And then with fire you can do things like cooking. We can't cook without fire, so fire very important. And with fire, there's also the ability to digest. Digestion, our digestion is important, the fire of digestion. As Prabhupada explains in the purport, we need to have some fire in the belly to digest food. So you see people, they have a lot of fire in the belly, they can eat a lot. Srila Prabhupada used to say, young man cannot eat too much, old man cannot eat too little. As you get older, the fire in the belly decreases. And Srila Prabhupada in his final days, he had that very bad problem. He was not able to eat anything. He had no fire in the belly. And he was taking different medicines to try to give some fire so that he could. But he became emaciated, and he was just able to take a little bit of juice because there was no fire anymore in the belly. So fire is very important. And of course, with fire, we can destroy cold. You know, we don't very much like cold. Heat is also a problem. Prabhu was telling me how here in this part of the world, you don't have much experience of cold, but you know hot, hotter, and hottest, right? At just different degrees of heat, experiencing the extreme heat. So fire is very powerful, very important. And it gives rise to things like hunger and thirst, eating and drinking. There was an interesting pastime which comes up when Lord Krishna went to bring back Usha and Aniruddha? No, Lakshmi. Jambavan has a daughter, right? What was the name? Huh? Jambavati. And who was it? who got married, got taken away from Dwarka and brought to Jambavan's. Oh, not Jambavan. I'm not. Huh? I'm thinking about the man who had 1,000 arms. Banasura. Banasura's daughter was Usha, was it? Banasura's daughter was Usha. And she got involved with one of Lord Krishna's grandsons in a very special arrangement with the help of Usha's friend Chitralekha. The girl Chitralekha had mystic powers, and she brought this Anirudh there to the palace, to Banasura's kingdom. And Banasura didn't know. Banasura was keeping his daughter very chaste. He was keeping her away from all the men. And so Chitralekha with his daughter, and Chitralekha understood how Usha was attacked, had some relationship with this one man, who she'd never ever met. And Chitralekha drew pictures of different men, and eventually she came to the Yadus, and then she came to this Aniruddha, and so they understood this was the man who was in the dreams of Usha, Banasura's daughter. So Chitralekha said, no problem, I'll bring him to Dwarka and bring Aniruddha there. In his sleep, he woke up and found himself in the palace of these beautiful women, and this young woman was there with him, Banasura's daughter. And so they had a relationship together. And then when the father found out, he was furious. And he arrested Aniruddha. Although Aniruddha was a great fighter, Banasura was also very powerful and he had weapons. And they arrested Banasura, took him prisoner. And Narada Muni went to Dwarka and told Lord Krishna what happened. So Lord Krishna came with a great army. And they came to attack Banasura. And Banasura had the help of Lord Shiva. I don't know what the Shivite devotees will think of this pastime, you know. A lot of Shiva devotees around. Anyway, Lord Shiva was residing in the kingdom of Banasura. He had promised Banasura that he would protect him if he was ever attacked. Lord Shiva likes to do kirtan, and Banasura had 1,000 arms or 100 arms. How many arms did he have? 1,000. So with his 1,000 arms, he could play mridanga very nicely, you know. And so Lord Shiva was very happy because he could enjoy dancing. When the mridanga playing is very good, then you dance nicely. So Banasura he had pleased Lord Shiva, so Lord Shiva said, how can I repay you? So Banasura was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and he told Lord Shiva, he said, you should stay here and protect me. If ever I'm attacked, you can help to defend me. So Lord Shiva agreed. So when Lord Krishna came with his army, there was a great battle, and Lord Shiva fought against Lord Krishna. It was a big fight, and even Kartikeya or Murga was also there, and he was fighting Pradyumna, and Ganesh was also there fighting, helping Lord Shiva, and big battle. So at one point, Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva was having a difficult time, Lord Krishna used one point, he used a yawning weapon. You know, our yawning weapon is Srimad Bhagavatam. When we chant Om Namo Bhagavatam. So Lord Shiva was a victim to Krishna's he was fighting, and then Krishna used the yawning weapon. Lord Shiva, I'm tired, I'm going for a rest. So Lord Shiva took a rest. But after some time he recovered and he came back, and he saw that they were not doing very well. His army was being defeated. So Lord Shiva used his ultimate weapon, the Shiva Dwara. The Shiva Dwara is like death personified, and it's a great fire everywhere. And it came in a form, 3 heads and 3 legs. A little unusual, huh? Anyway, this was the form of the Shiva Dwara. He had 3 heads and 3 legs, and he was blazing like fire, burning everything. Just like at the time of death, the body will get very hot, and you get big, will go up to 107, and then the body will become ice cold. First you get very hot, big fever, and then the body will become like ice, and that is the death, the time of death. So the Shiva Dwara was burning everyone, very powerful weapon. So Lord Krishna, he produced the Narayana Dwara, which was the ultimate, it's the only weapon which could challenge the Shiva Dwara, the Narayana Dwara. So Shiva Dwara is very hot, burning everything. And the Narayana Dwara, very cold, freezing everything. So they were fighting, and the Shiva Dwara, in contact with the Narayana Dwara, was losing his heat. Because when this cold comes in, then the effect of the heat is reduced. So the Shiva Dwara was losing his power and losing his power. And Prabhupada said, just like sometimes it gets very hot, so even though it gets so hot, still life goes on. People go to work, they still work and they go off, they'll do their jobs. But when it gets very cold, sometimes it gets so cold, nobody will work, everybody will just stay at home. They don't want to go out. Nobody to resist the cold, very difficult. We have devotees in some parts of the world, like North China and then into Russia, Far Eastern Russia. Temperature is -30, -30 degrees, you know, it's very cold. One devotee told me he went there, he'd come off the train, he was up in North China, he came off the train, and he took a drink of water, and the water froze in his mouth. It became ice. You know, he did, actually a devotee from Perth, Brajanandan. Yeah, Brajanandan from Perth. So he took a drink of water, and the water just went solid in his mouth. He couldn't swallow it. It got stuck in his throat, his ice. Here we go again. So this is the effect of the heat and the cold. Cold is very difficult to tolerate and to exist in the cold. In some parts of, like Canada, also very cold. They don't turn the engine off in their motor car. They leave it running all night, because if they turn the engine off, everything freezes. It just turns solid. So they have to keep the engine running all night. So cold is the ultimate weapon. But here, we're hearing about fire. Fire is also very powerful. We need to keep some fire in the belly to eat, to be healthy. So that's why we will eat things like chili and ginger. They increase the fire. Some different foodstuffs will give you that hunger more. So fire is an important weapon, an important element. Without fire, how could you cook anything? And if you can't cook anything, then there'll be no more gulab jamuns, no more samosa, no more pakora, right? So cooking is very, very important, and we cannot cook without fire. Of course, nowadays they like to use things like electricity for cooking. Induction? What's that, induction?
Electric stove.
Oh. Anyway, they use the electricity for cooking. It's not the best. But if you cook on gobar, that's very nice. But who's going to cook on gobar? You have to be very patient, and it takes a long time to cook on the gobar. And cooking on wood is also good. In Mayapur, often, you'll see at the Gaur Purnima time, they bring in a lot of wood, big mountains of wood. They will use it for cooking. So cooking on wood it improves the taste of the food. Other times, sometimes they will use coal, which is also alright, but not as good as wood. We often like to use gas, because gas is the most convenient and not so messy. So cooking with gas that's the easiest thing to do. But nowadays in Europe at least, there's no gas anymore because Russia went to war with Ukraine, so it stopped the gas supplies from that time. And so everybody in Europe had to switch to using electricity to cooking. But the taste of the food is not the same. But still there's hunger. Hunger is there. And hunger has to be satisfied with proper food and drink. So fire is a very important element to keep us all comfortable in the colder places in the winter time, trying to survive. Some parts of the world, even in India, North India, very cold. You go up to Chandigarh, and like that, it's very cold. Vrindavan also very cold, morning and evening. But the difference is, usually there will be sun. The sun will come out in the daytime. Not every day, but most days there will be sun. Even it will be cold, but there will be sunlight. But if you go to England and Europe, you don't see much sun. Every day cloudy, no sun. So Prabhupada was asked, what is it like in hell? And then he said, this London. He said, this is hell. Every day, no sunlight. Every day just rainy, cloudy. So the hell is like that. No sunlight, no heat. And so cold, miserable. Hot is actually prepared to keep people healthy. They don't want to be too hot. Of course, with the heat, we have to drink more. We have to drink more liquid. That's important, to have enough liquid and put enough liquid in the body. Often the health problems come because we don't put enough liquid into the body. So the Ayurvedic system is very scientific. Of course, Ayurvedic also is a subdivision of the Vedic knowledge. And Prabhupada says here, it agrees with the Srimad Bhagavatam. The fire, keep the fire in the belly. And we don't want to eat too much, don't want to eat too. If you eat too much, just like you put too much fuel on the fire, it will put out the fire for some time. You know, sometimes we have that experience. If you're building a fire and you put coal or wood on the fire, so for some time it won't burn because you put so much on, it can put out the fire. So similarly, if you overeat, it puts out the fire of digestion for some time. So that's the danger. Therefore, when we eat, the Ayurvedas say you should take 50% solid, 25% liquid, and leave 25% air. Or sometimes they say one-third food, one-third liquid, and one-third air. Don't just fill the belly only with food, but have it so that the fire can burn. If there's no fire at all, then we cannot digest anything. So Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, I remember in the 1970s I was in Calcutta, and Jayapataka Swami at that time, he was a healthy young man, and he would come from Mayapur, he'd come to Calcutta, and he would take these different things for his digestion, to have a nice fire of digestion. Things like sugarcane juice, also good, and amla, different things. He would like to take these different things to keep himself healthy. So Krishna consciousness helps us to understand these different things. We see how Srimad Bhagavatam is not just speaking only philosophy, but it's speaking also practical knowledge to us. It's explaining to us about what we have to do to keep healthy, to keep the body fit. We have to watch out for that fire, to keep that fire healthy. That's why regulation is there, and that's why we have also Ekadasi fasting. Ekadasi fasting is a type, it's also very good for health. Of course, Ekadasi is a day which is very dear to Lord Krishna, but it's also very good for health to give the body a rest, because generally we eat too much. We eat too much and the fire of digestion is not there so much. So when we give the body a rest, like on Ekadasi, then after Ekadasi, then you have a good appetite. You have the fire of digestion comes again, and you can enjoy the food more. So the Ekadasi is actually meant like that we practice some restraint. Of course, Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, they taught us that Ekadasi is not meant just for fasting, but it's a day to increase our hearing and chanting. And there's a famous pastime that in one of the Gaudiya months one time, there was a program, and it was Ekadasi, and the devotees there were all fasting. So some man came to invite all the members of the ashram that I'm having a Sankirtan festival, I want you to come and attend the program, do Sankirtan and give some preaching to the people. But they said, no, we're all fasting today, we can't come. But when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada heard, he said, cook prasadam, everybody take prasadam, go for the program. He said that going for the program is more important than fasting. So Prabhupada also taught us that the real purpose of Ekadasi is that they to increase our hearing and chanting. And increasing our hearing and chanting, if we want to seriously increase our hearing and chanting, we'll minimize our eating and sleeping. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would observe Ekadasi very strictly. He would not eat, he would not drink, he would not sleep. The whole night he would stay awake. So one time we had the opportunity also. I was in the Philippines and Tamal Krishna Goswami came there and he wanted all of us to stay awake and do a full Ekadasi. No eating, no sleeping, no drinking, the whole night. And of course it's very nice when you're together with a lot of senior Vaishnavas. So to be in that kind of association, you don't mind to observe fasting and to stay awake all night, because the whole night there would be katha and kirtan, different activities. So in this way we were practicing. And then after the Ekadasi, then you break the fast. You break, and naturally when you come to break the fast, you have a good fire in the belly. You're ready to eat, to drink. So these things, they're all designed for our material and spiritual benefit. And we have to take advantage of these things. Okay, are there any questions or comments?
Maharaj, next one level now. So just you are telling 50% will be put prasadam, 25% and 25%. So how I understand why I am eating, this is my 50%. Because as long as hunger we are eating. And Ekadasi day when I am thinking, just it is my realization. Ekadasi day, before day you are thinking, next Ekadasi day you have more hunger is coming. What is the reason?
Next Ekadasi day, more hunger?
Today is like tomorrow Ekadasi. So when night I am sleeping, next day morning is more hunger.
So it's like he is meditating on Ekadashi the previous day itself, and that in turn becomes intense hunger for him on the Ekadashi day. So what to do is...
Well, you don't think about the hunger if you're chanting Hare Krishna. If you're engaged in chanting and hearing, you're having nice katha and like that, we don't think about the hunger. And these things, it's something you learn to get used to it. You know, in the beginning you feel a little hunger, but tolerate. You tolerate and you can overcome that. In the beginning, it's a practice. If you become accustomed to it, it's not a big problem. As far as how much is 25% and how much is 50%, well, we depend on every individual's judgment. It's up to everyone to judge for themselves. You know when your belly's full, and you know when you're empty, when you're hungry. So you have to judge how much is about half. Right? Our own experience will tell us. The point is, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, don't eat too much, don't eat too little. You cannot be a yogi if you eat too much or if you eat too little, or if you sleep too much or sleep too little. So we have to be regulated in these habits. You eat too much, you get the rich man's disease, diabetes. Very common in India, right? People eat too much, too many things, fried things, sweet things and stuff, and they get diabetic. Prabhupada said it's a rich man's disease. And if you eat too little, you get tuberculosis, you get TB. Some people, they get a phobia about eating, they don't want to eat, And when they don't eat properly, then they're prone to get something like tuberculosis. So it's the result of not eating properly. I was giving a program one time in Malaysia, in Johor. 3 people were diabetic and 1 had TB. It was quite surprising. I was talking about this. Anyway, these things are there. Nowadays TB is not so common, but still sometimes it comes up. So it's balanced. We have to be balanced, regulated, proper eating. And food also has to be prepared in such a way to stimulate the hunger so that we will enjoy more the different tastes. That is the expertise. It's a Vaishnava art. Okay, any other question? Yes?
Maharaj, they say that, I've heard from the senior devotees, they say that cooking on firewood is sattva guna, and cooking on gas is rajasic, and electrical cooking is tamasic. Is that his understanding, Maharaj?
Well, maybe. I've never heard it before, but it could be. Sounds reasonable.
Maharaj, sometimes there are opinions that devotees should eat simple food and keep everything very plain and things like that. Is that correct? My understanding is we should cook nicely for the Lord and we partake that, or should we all keep things very simple all the time?
Well, Srila Prabhupada said we could eat opulently once a week, like on Sunday feast. But during the weekdays, you don't want every day to be feasting on all kinds of fried things and sweet things every day. That will not be so good for health, overindulging, eat too much. So Prabhupada, it's a basic diet, Prabhupada gave us the diet. In the morning we'd have some cereal with a piece of fruit, like an orange. And then there'd be also some chickpeas, chickpeas, chana. We'd have a few chickpeas. And we were supposed to, they would say, you should only have about 8 chickpeas, right? If you eat more than 8 chickpeas, too much, because very high protein. So like that, a few chickpeas and a piece of fruit and some cereal. And then lunchtime, it would be rice, dal, chapati, sabji. Right? When people want more, they can eat more rice and dal or chapati. This is the staple food. And the night we'd have a glass of milk. That was the program in ISKCON. And we would take the rice, dal, chapati, sabji at lunchtime, and in the evening a glass of milk. No prasadam at night. Would not eat at night. So, very satisfying, healthy program. Prabhupada arranged like that. And of course, over the years, everything changed. Not so many people living in the temples. People go out to work. They go out to work, they cannot eat all day, they come home at night, they have to have a good meal. But that is the way, that kind of program is very healthy. And the devotees would have a good appetite every lunchtime. They'd be hungry, ready to eat. They could eat good. Okay? Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Gaur Premanande.